He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is The Alex Marlow Show.
All right, welcome to The Alex Marlow Show. A little different show today because I got a guest, John Nolte. I wanted to hang out with John today. I was just in the mood for it, and I think that it was good timing. A lot of media news out there. Getting his take is always interesting. Senior writer for us at Breitbart News, my actual godfather. One of the most interesting writers in all of media and a fan favorite guest for those of you who've been with me for a long time. A huge day for us at Breitbart News. Dawn of the new media age reads our front page. Matt Boyle kicks off the White House press briefing. So Matt got the second question. It was sort of a group new media thing with Axios, Mike Allen over there, Caroline Leavitt, the new press secretary, praising us as widely respected and viewed. Thank you, Madam Press Secretary. Very cool. And it was a great press conference. Boyle asked a great question. Got to name check Andrew Breitbart. We'll have video for you at Breitbart News. I'll play a snippet of it with Nolte also. And then a very interesting press conference where she reveals that drones flying over the New Jersey, all those New Jersey drones, it was all FAA approved. We've got Jim Acosta out at CNN and whining on the way out. I'll touch on that with Nolte. Kristi Noem was out there with a flak jacket and busting people. The ICE raids continue. She's Department of Homeland Security Secretary now, getting the dirt bags off the street. So the winning does not stop. Caroline Leavitt listing all illegal aliens as criminals. All of them are criminals. That's right. They are all criminals. Exactly right. So, all right, Trump's freezing some foreign aid, which is a big deal because freezing the foreign aid allows for us to have an audit to make sure people are getting us what we're paying for, because it's not just supposed to be welfare. It's supposed to actually have a purpose. I'll touch on that a little bit more down the road. A lot of fun stuff going on. More firings from Jack Smith's office. Why is anyone there anymore? Gary Peters, Michigan senator, is not going to run for re-election. So does that open up the seat to Pete Buttigieg? Senator Buttigieg? I think we could get it. Bernie Sanders wants a 100% tax increase. Thank God these guys did not win. So a lot going on. Pete had calling for the end of Groundhog's Day. Now, Groundhog's Day is my sister's birthday, so we love Groundhog's Day. But, all those Puxatawny Phils getting killed over the years. Remember when Bill de Blasio dropped them? We'll play it on Groundhog's Day. He dropped the groundhog and killed it. So the Democrat mayor of New York. Anyway, that's it for now. I want to get into it with Nolte. We'll spend some time with him, and we'll resume traditional order of business tomorrow. Thanks to everyone for emailing me, aloha@alexmarlow.com, subscribing, etc. Producer Misty does a great job. She gets a shout out. But let's roll the interview with Nolte. All right. So you all know I don't bring you products I wouldn't use myself or recommend to my own family. And I've got something today that checks all the boxes for health, longevity, and real measurable results. I'm talking about the Juvent Micro Impact platform, and it's like nothing else on the market. You've heard me talk about how we have a sedentary lifestyle. We're just sitting around too much at work, in traffic, on the couch, and we pay for it with joint pain, stiff muscles, and weakened bones. But Juvent changes the game. The platform uses cutting-edge science developed to help astronauts rehab, and delivers micro impacts that help you improve your joint health, boost your bone density, and speeds up your recovery. Of course, I ran this by some of the most trusted voices in my life, many of them board-certified physicians in my family, and they say this technology is legit. It's simple, convenient, it's safe, and I've been incorporating it into my routine on a daily basis with basically zero effort. I hop on the platform for 10 to 20 minutes a day, 20 for me because I'm robust, and it helps me activate the areas of my body that are neglected when I'm sitting around and scrolling. I got my routine. I pick up Master Marlow Jr. from school, hop on the platform. I start my afternoon editorial call with my team. They fill me in on all the news, all while I'm getting healthier instead of just sitting there on the couch. You can do it while you watch your favorite shows, like, I don't know, this podcast perhaps, or when you're doing your scrolling. You get stronger throughout the process, and it's so easy to do. Juvent's also built to last. Every platform comes with a 10-year limited warranty with financing options available. You can even use FSA funds. And since the software calibrates each time you get on it, then you can use it no matter who you are, what age you are. The whole family can get on the Juvent and benefit from it. So if you're not loving it after 6 weeks, they will buy the platform back from you. So it's basically no risk. You don't even have to take my word for it. You can literally just go try it out. Juvent.com/Marlow and use the code Marlow at checkout for an exclusive $500 off. That's Juvent.com/Marlow, code Marlow. Take control of your health in 2025 and see the results for yourself. All right, so I was thinking about what I wanted to do today, and I felt like I'd heard the sound of my own voice a little bit too much lately, and I thought, well, how do I want to deal with that? And I said, you know what I want to do? I want to hang out with John Nolte. And then I thought, do I need to hang out with John Nolte? There's a lot of news to go through, and I should probably just take care of my own business, right? And I said, you know what? It's called the Alex Marlow Show. I get to do whatever I want. So I'm calling up my real-life godfather, John Nolte, to hang out for a little bit. John, thank you for making a little time for me. It's always nice to see you. John is my actual real-life godfather. This is a true story. I had to convert to Catholicism very late in life, and I made sure to choose the person in my life who was Catholic and had the biggest television and DVD collection, and that was John. And that's how we chose it. But John was the second employee of Breitbart. I was the first employee of Breitbart 17 years ago. John had a small hiatus from us. But John, did you ever do the math on how long you've been here? It's got to be like 14, 15 years in total, right? Something.
Yeah, longer than I've really been any place else by a mile. I can hardly believe how fast it went, though. I can hardly believe it.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. And but what I wanted to do to start is that's not live, right, Misty? Did I mess that up? Just in case, I'm going to be careful here. So something just happened just now, right before we went to air. The President Trump's new press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, just had her first press briefing, and Breitbart got called right at the top. We got some footage of this, John. I want to get your reaction to this, especially considering how where we started from our humble origins to Andy Breitbart's basement. Here we are, White House press briefing room.
Yeah, so Caroline, first off, thank you to you and President Trump for actually giving voices
That's
to
Matt Boyle.
media outlets that represent millions and millions of Americans. The thing I would add, I've got a two-part question for you. The first is just can you expand upon what steps the White House is going to take to bring more voices, not less, which is what our founder, Andrew Breitbart, believed in, into this room where they rightfully belong.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said in my opening statement, Matt, it is a priority of this White House to honor the First Amendment. And it is a fact that Americans are consuming their news media from various different platforms, especially young people. And as the youngest press secretary in history, thanks to President Trump, I take great pride in opening up this room to new media voices to share the president's message with as many Americans as possible. In doing so, number one, we will ensure that outlets like yours, Axios and Breitbart, which are widely respected and viewed outlets, have an actual seat in this room every day.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. You got it. So we got the second question, widely respected, widely viewed by millions. I love it, John. Of course, it's great. It's very life affirming for all of us, and a great job to Matt. But it also is so nice that we have to think about what they must be thinking at the New York Times and at CNN and all of these places that we've just sort of beat over the years. We had a story yesterday at Breitbart how we're not just number one on Facebook. We're completely dominant on the platform, the biggest social media platform. It's just it's interesting. I would love for Andrew to see it.
Yeah, it would be. I remember him talking to me about his original vision, and he did not see us here this quickly. He had a very realistic view, and yet we've just exploded. And not only that, but I believe Matt Boyle was the first questioner pointed to by the first press briefing of Trump's second term, which is historic, and Matt and all of us should be very proud of that.
Yeah, I think technically they let Mikey Allen go first, but they made it like a little package thing, which is fine. It's we'll call it first. I think it's very great, and I just like it because we're seeing so much of the old guard in the media get cycled through. We learned yesterday that Jim Acosta, a fan favorite of ours at Breitbart News, is now leaving. John, you got to indulge me again. I'm making you indulge me a couple times at the very beginning of the show, but this is what I said on the show last week, and I want to know if you had the same take. But this is Marlow on Marlow. Here we go. Huge shakeups at CNN, and we're having an absolute blast at Breitbart with this. Hundreds of layoffs. One of the CNN boss apparently has said that the network could no longer exist. Jim Acosta is threatening to quit, but check this out. Jim Acosta is threatening to quit because he was moved to midnight. Okay, Jim, buddy, they're asking you to quit. They moved you to midnight. The request is for you to leave. They're trying not to fire you. They would like for you to quit. That's why they've moved you to midnight, Jim. That's the deal. They don't want you anymore. So that is a delight. I just like that he's outraged over it. That's pushing him out. I mean,
it's like an Office Space when they put the guy's desk in the basement. You know, it's a hint. It's a hint, and he could. We're going to humiliate you out the door, but we don't want to pay out your contract. So let's see how you like the midnight to 2 a.m. shift.
You almost can't keep up with it. I was down a rabbit hole last night, and I just played this really smug and sanctimonious video of the woman who is the opinion editor at the New York Times, which has always been a disgrace. The New York Times' news reporting is bad, but it comes in and out. It occasionally, I have to say, you have to sift through a lot of misinformation, but other than Breitbart, it does have the most regular information. It's just they have the most BS by far because there's so much of it. But there is regular information within the news reports that you can kind of parse through. But the opinion section is a total joke. It's all nutty stuff and hysteria. Charles Blow, Paul Krugman. And I played a video of their opinion editor announcing her endorsement of Kamala Harris. I'm going to have to pull this up for the show. I'll have to play this. And she's so she's loved the smell of her own farts, like that type of individual. And it's just like, why are these people? Why do we take any of them seriously? We should take none of them seriously. They should all go the way of Jim Acosta, and they should completely start fresh and just try to get some people who aren't as jaded in there.
It's just this little bubble that they have, and it's funny to watch. Like New York Magazine thought it could get away with cropping black people out of a Trump party, and claiming that the party was all white, and they thought that they could get away with that in this day and age. And it's as if they don't want to admit that everything has changed and they can no longer behave this way. Because admitting that would be admitting they were wrong, and admitting that would be admitting that there's been a change.
Yeah, and John, let me be specific to the audience if they haven't seen this story. The New York Magazine did a hit piece. I didn't even read it because what could have been in there that was of interest, but it looked like a hit piece on some party that took place, inauguration for younger people, and they acted as though it was all white people there, but the party was thrown by a black guy.
Yeah, and they think they can get away with this, but they don't want to admit that the landscape has changed. They just can't face that the landscape has changed. And by the way, the guy that wrote that piece wears a dress, so it just tells you what you're dealing with. A guy who's either flaunting his fetish or who's mentally ill, and he's writing cover stories for New York Magazine. And I didn't read the whole story, but it read like something that Stephen Glass wrote for the, back in the 90s, just this sort of fake. All Republicans are evil stuff. But the more that they do this, the better it is for us, because we, Breitbart and new media, we trained the public to see bias. And now they see the bias, and now no one trusts them. And the more that they do this, the more that they hurt themselves. The last thing we want is for these people to reform. So hopefully they'll just keep doing what they're doing. Plus, it's great copy.
Yeah, it's really good copy, and it's sort of a win-win for us right now because they're dying, and it's fun to watch them die, figuratively speaking, for all the Soros-funded freaks monitoring the show. But it is, and they have to make adjustments. One of the adjustments is they're making Maddow work 5 days a week instead of 1 day a week, which is, I just can't believe that the left wasn't more outraged that she took 4 days a week off for an election year and then they lost. And it's like, why wouldn't they blame her for that? She's their most popular individual voice for voting age people. I'm not saying maybe there's some more popular lefty on Twitch or something, but like overall, in terms of people who speak to an audience where 100% of the audience votes, I mean, she's the most popular, and she worked 20% for $30 million a year. And then they lost. Like, wouldn't they be mad at her? I mean, just comment on that, John. That would be insane. Could you imagine if I showed up at work 1 day a week, even if I was really good and everyone says I do a good job at work, if I showed up 1 day a week and then we lost, what would all of you think of me?
Yeah, you expect everybody to put their oar in the water, especially the top person. But last week, when Rachel Maddow was still Rachel Maddow, she was the number 1 or 2 cable host out of all of them. She was usually fighting at the time Sean Hannity for number 1 and number 2. Last week she was 14th out of 15th.
Wow.
And all 14 of the slots that were not Rachel Maddow were Fox News. So the landscape has just completely changed. And what MSNBC and CNN did, other than being serial liars, is they just refused to tell their audience that Trump had a real chance. And that was a lie that I think even the left couldn't stand, which is why they're tuning out. They're just so disgusted. They feel they don't mind being told lies about Russia collusion because they understand that those lies hurt Trump. But this lie hurt them. They weren't prepared for it. And I think that's one of the reasons why CNN last week, despite the wildfires, despite Joe Biden's goodbye message, all the stuff going on with Trump as he was entering office on Monday, CNN last week, this is the week before the inauguration, the last week that we have ratings for, could not achieve 500,000 average primetime viewers. That's unbelievable. As much as I hate CNN, never in my wildest dreams did I think that I'd see something like that, which is glorious.
So that's a great segue, because I'm trying to figure out what CNN going to do. I mean, they're kicking out Acosta, but he really wasn't a player anyway. And so they shook up their lineup. So Wolf Blitzer is going earlier in the day, or like we're all just completely into Wolf Blitzer still after all these decades of him boring us to tears. They have one new show in the evenings where it's a bit of a panel free for all. And this guy Scott Jennings on it, who's pretty good, who's a conservative. So it'll be interesting to see if they do more of that stuff. But I still don't know if anyone's tuning in. Based off of what you just said, John, they must not be tuning in because the ratings are not there. But I did pull a clip that I thought was pretty entertaining. I want to get your reaction to this.
This salute trutherism is outrageous. This is the most.
Do it right now on TV.
This is the biggest conspiracy.
Do it right now on TV.
It's crazy.
If you think it's normal, if you think this is a normal way to greet people, do it right now on TV. Why won't you?
There wasn't much context there. They're fighting over the Elon Musk Nazi salute, or was it a Nazi salute? And I'm torn about this one, John, but I want your take.
Well, that show on CNN, I don't think averages 300,000 viewers.
Wow.
And the only thing anyone watches are the clips of Scott Jennings, because he's really, really good, are the clips of Scott Jennings on Twitter and YouTube.
Yeah.
But it's, here we are, a week later, and the leftists, and it's 6 against 1 on that panel, the leftists are still dry humping the salute.
Yeah.
And they don't have anything to tag Trump with. Trump is winning all the arguments. J.D. Vance is winning all the arguments. If you listen to Karen Leavitt today, the press secretary on her first day, she's winning all the arguments. And they have figured out how to win the arguments. And that's to be unapologetic. I don't care, Karen, or whatever that woman's name is. And they don't know what to do because Trump, like we talked about before, Trump stole all their best issues. He's doing the thing. He's doing the right things. He's doing the popular things. And they can't lay a glove on him. And what they needed the last time, of course, was the Russia collusion hoax. And they don't have anything like that this time.
Yeah, what's interesting is that I feel like with the Musk salute, which was, I don't know anyone who does that gesture in my life. I know that if you do that gesture in Germany, you do get arrested. So it's kind of not a great sign. But one thing that no one backed down on it. Everyone just said it was a hoax. I know Musk is not a Nazi. I have no idea what he was doing. I know he was spazzing out, but it was interesting how it just frustrated the left to no end that there was no apologies given. There was no one went out there and said, Musk is really a Nazi. It's no one defected from the right over it, and they're still in it. They're just stewing in it, and it's just they can't
deal. They just can't deal with how things. They're so used to being able to bully us into an apology.
Yeah,
and now we just look at them and we go hoax. And that's it. We just totally dismiss them, and that's what you have to do.
Call it a hoax. you just announce, oh, that's a hoax. It's like, are you sure about that? I don't know. I mean, it's like, what is he? Have you ever done that gesture? Would you do it right now? No, of course I wouldn't. But we're still calling it a hoax. We're just going to call it a hoax.
It frustrates them.
It's so
because
frustrating.
Even if they're right, we're going to call it a hoax because it's politics, and that's a hoax.
It's really interesting how this is taken off collectively, because I do this stuff in my life where I feel like there's something we've accepted that it doesn't make any sense to me. Like parsley, it's like I don't know what parsley tastes like. I know it appears occasionally atop of plates, and I feel like there's big parsley, and they've just convinced people we need this. I don't think I need parsley. I think that I really like cilantro. It looks the same. It tastes great, and I don't think parsley tastes like anything. And it's just like, why do we have it? And then so I would say to people, parsley is a hoax. And then they would find that phraseology very interesting. Like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. Like, because I eat parsley and I don't know why I'm eating it also. Mm-hmm. And it's a way of jarring people into thinking about something it just changes your thinking. You just hear that phraseology. People just immediately applied that to the Musk Nazi thing. And it would just work like a charm. And it just makes you wonder, what is their playbook now? Because if they try to balance out a panel like the Scott Jennings panel, still no one watches. They do more Maddow, fewer people are watching. They try to push Acosta to midnight, and he doesn't understand he's getting fired. And then I think he finally gets it that he's getting fired, basically. So where are they? What do they do? I mean, so fun.
I mean, you know they're out of ideas when they're talking about how much it costs to deport illegal aliens. Like, oh, okay, yeah, now I don't want these people deported. And Trump has the facts and the truth, and he has right and wrong on his side. Getting rid of transsexuals in the military is the right thing to do. And they're unapologetic about it. They're appealing to common sense. And the media cannot lay a glove on them because they refuse to fall into the traps that Mitt Romney fell into and John McCain fell into. And, oh, yeah, illegal aliens. I know some of them follow the law and they contribute to our culture. Blah, blah, blah. No. Like Karen Leavitt said, they're all criminals. They all broke the law.
They're all
that
criminals.
Makes them all criminals. They got to go.
I have to say, we're not going to have this clip in time, but during the press briefing, I'll try to list some highlights because these things will be frequent, and we'll figure out a way to incorporate them into the show, which is I haven't incorporated them into the show for a long time. It's really and not just this show's new, but I got out of the habit of following the press briefings for reasons we can get into at a different moment. But I was watching some of it and seeing some of the clips online, and some of the answers are just so compelling because of the simplicity. It is, she was asked about, are all the illegal aliens regarded as criminals? And she says, yes, because once you enter the country illegally, you are a criminal. It's not the same as if you enter the country and then you do a great job washing dishes or mowing someone's lawn. I don't consider you at exactly the same level as someone who comes in with fentanyl and sells fentanyl and kills people. But you're technically a criminal because you did break our laws to get here, and that's the fundamentals. And I feel like we've spent the last 30 years in this country not acknowledging that basic fact. And it hasn't gone well for us. And this is where I like to check in and ask the fundamental question, how is it going? Is this going well for us? Not well, John.
Right. No, it's what it does to law-abiding Americans and law-abiding, and I should say legal immigrants, and I'm married to a legal immigrant from Mexico. It's just unfair because you hire a dishwasher at $2 an hour. You should be paying someone $7 an hour. It decreases wages. We already have a housing shortage, especially in the countries where the sanctuary cities are. And you bring in 10 million people. There's probably 30 million illegal aliens in the country. They all got to go. All of them have to go. And then they can apply legally. And we want the best and the brightest. We want the most ambitious. But it's just unfair, especially to the working class, to bring these people in because it hurts them more than anyone else. And Democrats used to care about the poor. They used to pretend to care about the poor at least. And this is why they're losing them. And I thought that, the talking points that the media use, like when J.D. Vance was on Face the Nation.
Yeah.
And that harpy said, well, we are a nation of immigrants. And he said, we're a nation of immigrants. We're a nation of settlers. But that doesn't mean we have to have the dumbest immigration laws on the planet. Beautiful answer. Simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good. That's how you do it.
Yeah, and you could even, there's a lot of versions of this when you start not accepting their premise. And this is one of the lessons of Andrew Breitbart. And I kind of feel like maybe it's why I don't get more mainstream media interviews, because I've never accepted people's premises. I think all you have to do is see my my Bill Maher appearance from 7 years ago, where I just don't accept the stuff that they introduce. And it's always a good place to start. What is the premise? Is that if we did something at our founding, we have to do it today? Well, we did slavery at our founding. I mean, we were founded by slavers. So does that mean we need to bring back slavery? Is that what Margaret Brennan is suggesting? Is she suggesting, John, that we need to bring back slavery?
Right, exactly.
Based on that logic,
exactly.
That's she's suggesting.
And that's just the way you do it. And the great thing about Vance and the great thing about Trump is that they both know their own mind, and they're not just going on there with talking points, because that was a big problem with
that's such a great way of putting it.
They just go on there with talking points. It's very easily to throw someone off their talking points if they don't know their own mind. And Vance obviously has thought this stuff through very thoroughly, and the guy's ready for anything. Yeah. And I have no doubt he's going to be the tip of the administration's spear over the next 4 years.
Yeah, he really is. He's very comfortable. It's interesting because I interviewed him for a couple hours. It was when he was running for, I think it was when he was running for Senate. And I've known JD for a while because I really loved Hillbilly Elegy, and I reached out to him, and I realized we shared almost all of our politics. And I did a long form interview with him a few years ago, and I went to his house and I spent time with him, and it's all very relaxed and casual. Like, he understands all this stuff at such a deep level. You could tell there was no nerves. He wasn't cramming. He didn't have any notes in front of him, but he speaks fluently about the most important issues of our time. And issues that until recently did not have a political party, issues that were really outside of the realm of modern republicanism or Democrat the policy principles. And he was still very comfortable with it and very relaxed. It's a pretty amazing thing considering he's only 40 years old, not just because maybe he could be president, which would be great, obviously. That's not the point. The point is that could the next 40 years of American thought leaders think more like that and less like, let's say, the Dick Cheneys of the world or the National Review editorial board. Not saying there aren't some okay people in National Review now. I'm not saying there's not, but I'm just saying, is he over the years that we got to get past that? I always think about all the people at Reason, all these smart people, Libertarian magazine, Reason, and just then Trump throws a tariff haymaker on Colombia and completely gets everything he wants in a matter of hours. What are you doing if you have a publication where you write essays on why tariffs are bad? How do you deal with what Trump did this weekend? You can't deal with it. It questions who you are as a human being at a visceral level.
And, they've completely moved the Overton window, because we never talked about deporting the good illegals. And now we're calling them criminals. And the media doesn't know how to respond to that because it's a fact. There's no talking point to respond with. And when Trump is totally changing the presidency, because he hit the ground running, more prepared than any president in my lifetime. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. He learned a lot in the first term. Yeah. On personnel, on how to write these executive orders so they're more bulletproof. And he's going 150 miles an hour so that the media, it's like, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Well, we don't have time to destroy this. We don't have time, because he's on to the next thing. Oh, we were going to destroy this, but he's on to the next thing. He's moving so fast that they can't get a beat on him and take him out. Oh, now he's removing transgenders from the military, and now he's threatening Colombia with tariffs, and now J.D. Vance is kicking our butt. They don't know what to do, and that's exactly how it has to be done. And then you put someone like Carol Leavitt in there, who is insanely smart, insanely prepared. She doesn't even have a briefing book. She's another one who knows her own mind. She knows the president's mind. Yeah. And they have no idea what it – plus – the public is done with them. We're just done with them. I remember when they would launch, like the Elon Musk thing. They would launch a narrative like that, and I would sit at this desk and I'd be watching it on the monitor, and I think, oh my gosh, this is going to kill us. And then 5 years later, it was like, these people are just jerks. And then 5 years later, it was, this is frustrating because they won't stop. And now you just laugh at it because you know it's not. The race stuff is dead. They're not going to get anywhere with it anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'm still it's such a pleasure in terms of how quickly we're going to be able to do good now that we don't care, now that everyone's got that Andrew Breitbart attitude and the attitude that I think is, defined Breitbart all these years, but it's been pretty lonely, and it got the water got warmer when Trump ran the first time, but now I think post those assassination attempts and post all the lawfare, I think that he's done with it. I don't think anyone in his orbit. I think there's zero tolerance for anyone who's not done with it, and that's amazing. And it's also equally great to see all of the people who kind of beat us in the culture war for the last few decades squirm, because they have to choose whether or not they're going to embrace reality, which is that our values are ascendant, or whether or not they're going to cling to their wokeness. And we track this at Breitbart very closely, John, as the original Cultures Upstream of Politics website. Let me play you a clip of the new Captain America, Anthony Mackie. He's overseas, by the way, important to note this, promoting the new Captain America movie. Here's how he's talking about it in the public. Let's see how he's doing.
For me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations.
Yeah, so Captain America doesn't represent America. Your take?
It's just emblematic of the problem with Disney, which of course owns Marvel, and they just, maybe if Trump had lost, Anthony Mackie would have phrased that differently. But they just don't get it. And the thing you have to remember is that they don't care. They don't care about making money. Yeah. They're too big to worry about it. They just want to destroy. They're so angry at us because we won. They were angry at us before we won because we refused to change. Now they're really angry with us because we won, because we're the cool kids now. And we're the ones that are going to make things change probably for the next 12 years. And they're so angry that they're willing to tear down their own stuff.
Right.
And they're tearing this down out of hate. And guys like Anthony Mackie and outlets like Disney and outlets like Marvel, they can't create, because hate will not create anything. All hate can do is destroy. So to get back at us, rather than making a better argument, which they can't do, they're destroying, they're taking ownership of things we love, Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Superman and Spider-Man and Captain America of all things, and they're destroying it, and that's how they're getting back at us. And it's
okay, but here's my point: is that, first of all, John, as you always point out, we don't need any new movies. We don't. It'd be nice if we had new movies but there's plenty. There's enough. We've got. I'm shocked whenever I talk to you, and I make a point to follow people who know film online, and there's always something. I mean, I could go every single day and add more lists to the things that I want to see faster than I can knock them off. And I know that then you can rewatch stuff and things get good. You don't need them. And here's the entertainment we've got at the news media day to day. Check out our new Department of Homeland Security Secretary, John.
Here in New York City this morning, we are getting the dirt bags off these streets.
That's just a little snippet of Kristi Noem getting ready to do some arrests. One more time. Got the flak jacket.
You're getting the dirt bags off these streets.
She's done the glow up. She's done the glam. She's done the hair. She's done the makeup. She's got the flak jacket. John, I'll tell you, I will absolutely not make a joke that the last time I saw a video that started like that, I was in a VHS video store and I had to go behind a curtain that was hung from a what is that? From a shower curtain. Like I just slide over the shower curtain before I saw something start. It's unbelievable. It's so much more entertaining than whatever the Netflix is putting out. That is, if you go to see it in a theater, it's $100 for the family. It's just better. So they're not getting this though, right? This hasn't caught up to them. That there's more entertainment now online than what they're doing. We don't need them anymore.
No, you have ticket sales are about 40% down from where they were 20 years ago, and we have a lot more people in the country. Most of them can't speak English, but the new ones. But if you look, I don't know if you can see it over my shoulder. There's a pile of Blu-rays there.
Yeah, those
are my new movies, and they're all from the 1950s and the 1960s, and I've never seen those movies, but they were $8 a piece, and it cost me $14 to go to my local cinema. Literally $14, but no, they just don't get it, and they're going to try and survive by holding on to the 20. It's like the New York Times. The New York Times survives because of their subscribers.
Yeah.
But they have to appease their subscribers. And if they don't appease their subscribers, they become the Washington Post, which is on the verge of bankruptcy. It's losing $100 million a year.
You're nailing it.
That's what Hollywood, that's the situation that Hollywood is in right now, is that they have to appease their base in order to just get by. But they can't expand their base anymore because we're just sick and we're done with them.
Yeah, you're nailing it exactly. This is exactly my fascination in a nutshell. Luckily, we're on podcast. We have unlimited amount of time to go through it. But if I only had 30 seconds to sum it up, it's they have to choose between appeasing their base, what's left of them, knowing that they're hardcores, or trying to expand their audience, which will probably alienate part of their base quicker than they were actually able to expand the audience because we're done with them, because we're all online or doing other things with our lives. And I want to be careful because it's so easy to get so ecstatic. It just feels like a happy occasion. And we got to be careful because we got to be smart too. Okay, John. So this is where I need your smart analysis on this one. This is President Trump at a press conference yesterday. Let's check this out.
I've raised a lot of money for the next race that I assume I can't use for myself, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't know. I think I'm not allowed to run again. I'm not sure. Am I allowed to run again, Mike? I better not get you involved in that argument. No, we raised a lot of money.
So he's running, right?
Yeah. He just loves to troll the media. This is his way of getting Jim Acosta to blow his top and for them to scream. Trump has figured out, and he probably figured this out before we did, that he can destroy the media by making them hate him. And they get so weirded out, and they were willing to do anything to destroy him, and they just blew themselves up with the public. They have no influence now, and that's all he's doing there. He's just trolling the left, and he's hoping they're going to all freak out. Elizabeth Warren's going to do one of her little shrill Twitter videos and just make fools of themselves. And the rest of us are sitting back and just laughing because we know what he's doing. He's probably the funniest president we've ever had.
Yeah, it's so fun, and I love that he is fun. And if we keep winning, then he's going to be able to do this stuff, and there's nothing. He's going to be totally untouchable. I also find it to be exciting and enjoyable with this because I'm a lifelong learner. That's how I'll be. I always feel like I am never at my best unless I feel like I'm learning and studying and reading. And I like the idea of questioning whether or not he should only have 2 terms because he's our best guy. And it was within the last 100 years, we had a guy with more than 2 terms, Franklin Roosevelt. Why should the rule be, why should there be exception for Roosevelt, not for Donald Trump? I don't accept that as a premise. So you got to convince me. And I generally find wisdom in tradition, and the tradition is no one has more than 2 terms. And so that'll be my default position at the start. But why throw everything out? Why can't we have a conversation? I'm so sick of not being allowed to have a conversation, being told you can't talk about this stuff. We've spent years of that. It was completely unhealthy for all of us. We all got unhappy and divided when we couldn't talk. I've been saying this for as long as they give me a microphone. The alternative to us having conversations is much, much worse. It is much worse when we are not allowed to have the conversations. So let's have them. And John, are you telling me as the editor of a news website, I wouldn't want to watch a Donald Trump versus Barack Obama 2028 race? Because for sure if they amended it for Trump, they're nominating Obama. It's for sure. That's going to be it. That's the race. Can you picture it? The clash of the titans, Trump, Obama, Melania, Jennifer Aniston. That is the power couples we want to see. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and you're right. We should be able to talk about absolutely everything. And I think that's something else that's frustrating the media is that they tried so hard. You cannot have a discussion about this transsexual nonsense. You cannot have a discussion about gender. The science is settled. And hopefully we're going to move into the climate stuff because they keep telling us the science is settled on that. And you should be able to discuss anything because the moment you can't discuss it, you're not learning anything. And yeah, it could be, when you were talking about, well, why can't they have 2 terms? And I was sitting here thinking, yeah, that's a good question. I'm not really sure how I would answer you to make the case that he can't have 2 terms.
So you don't have to, because we've never had to address it because we all make ourselves lazy because we've fallen into this trap where we just, what are they saying in the New York Times editorial board? And, what are they saying at the whichever is the, the Lancet Medical Journal and whatever Harvard professor is saying on CNN, and that's our opinion. And it's just like, no, that's not our opinion. We're not doing that anymore. That didn't work for us.
Or maybe it's our opinion, but I'd like to hear the other side. I'd like to hear what the other side. I mean, one of the reasons I oppose term limits for senators and whatnot is because this is America. We should be able to have whoever represent us, whoever we want.
Yeah.
And why can't that be true for the president? Now, the sad thing is that Barack Obama probably would have won a third or fourth term. So maybe that's a good answer.
Look, in all honesty, I'm indulging the trolling aspect of this for the audience, but it's gun to my head today. I'm capping it at 2 terms, but I'm not that wedded to that where I couldn't see the landscape change and think this is a historic opportunity. And obviously there's a dice roll, but we got the guy in there who's the best guy in 100 years in this country, minimum. And I don't want to see him get kicked to the side yet. It's like maybe that's the gamble. But you're going to have to convince me if it's a real consideration. I don't know that it is. But the fact that the Democrats would get a chance to get Obama back, I think might be very appealing to them because they're so lost right now that it really could become a real conversation. It's a trolling conversation now. But I'm much more excited about this country and about my work in the news business if we could be approaching a frontier, a new horizon where we don't know what's on the other side. And that's really interesting to me. It's just as someone who sits in his home office and reads the news all day long. I do look forward to those moments.
And Trump's genius is doing that, what he just did there. Just a little thing. Think about this, and forcing us to think about it. And that's what he's done on tariffs. That's what he's done on illegal immigration. That's his genius. Is he's this old white guy saying, why can't I talk? He's the uncle all the leftists hated Thanksgiving going, why can't I talk about this? Why can't I say this? So it's very healthy. It's very healthy that we debate and discuss these things.
And get to joke around, and a lot of humor is funny because it does tap into a realness, and it's a way of being able to say things you're thinking without it sounding too coarse and caustic. So anyway, the last one I wanted to bring up to you is your take on the Oscars. They're nominating a trans person. No one's seeing any of these movies. I used to feel like this was a much bigger event on the calendar. It was like a Super Bowl-esque thing. I don't know when it's coming up. I don't know if I've seen a single. No, I saw The Substance with Demi Moore, who's amazing in it, which was unbelievable. But I haven't seen many Hollywood movies this year. I got a couple earmarked that I will get to when I feel like the news slows down a little bit, but and not a lot. Does anyone care about these things? And here's where I'm most interested. Do you share the rights outrage that a trans got nominated? Because I have no outrage over it. I don't care at all. I'm offended that they didn't nominate any furries. They didn't nominate anyone who does pup play. They didn't nominate any four spirits. That to me is more offensive. That there's a lot of representation that's missing. I don't care that one trans got nominated, but what's your take?
I'm not outraged by it because it hurts the people that enable this nonsense, which is the people in Hollywood. No one in Hollywood, very few people in Hollywood have the moral courage to stand up and say this is wrong. But you just think about what that honor means. There are 5 Best Actress nominations every year. So this year, 5. You got all these actresses out there busting their butts, sometimes for decades. And then they're talked about in the nomination conversation. And then all of a sudden, a guy steps in and takes 20% of those slots. And the person I thought of first was Pamela Anderson. Because Pamela Anderson has been cheesecake since the 90s for 30 years. I think she's 58 years old now. And she just, I guess, gave a great performance in a movie called The Last Showgirl. And imagine what this nomination would have done for her career, would have done for her Wikipedia page, would have done for her personally.
Yeah, I think more personally. I think more of her just as a human being. It's the not even legacy, just her walking around all day knowing that, and
the validation of it.
And this is why I was blown away by, I don't know if it's your type of horror, John, but The Substance, which I saw with Demi Moore, which is I said to Miss Dr. Marlow after I watched it, I said that I don't know if she's going to win the awards, but it'd be really nice for her to get nominated because I thought as a personal level, someone who must have thought her best days were behind them 10, 20 years. and somehow pulls a rabbit out of their hat where they do something I bet they didn't even think was possible, which is, give an amazing leading performance that's going to stop people in their tracks. As a human being, you got to root for that stuff. We all want our best days in front of us, right? And so to take that away from someone, I think is that's sinful.
Yeah, and you don't want to feel, you feel better, you feel worse for Anderson if she actually stood up against the nonsense of putting a guy in that slot.
I like that. But
at the same time, you understand, even if she's opposed to it, why she can't say anything, because it would destroy her career. But it's just a shame. She's someone it would have totally validated her as an actress. It would have wiped away the sex tape and the Tommy Lee and the Baywatch. It would have changed her life. And she's worked hard to get to this point, and they took it away from her. The patriarchy wins again.
Yeah, and that stuff's all G-rated now. I mean, that's basically, you could just show that middle school right now. It's like all that stuff. It's all just compared to what else is out there. John Nolte is senior writer for Breitbart News. He is the author of a wonderful book called Borrowed Time, which I've read 3 times. All of you should read it at least once, and then buy another copy for someone else. Don't re-gift it. Just you got to get a fresh one for people. Let them dog-ear their own copy. John, this is a blast, and thank you for being the first repeat guest in the Alex Marlow Show. We'll do many of these.
What an honor. Thank you, buddy. Talk to you later.
Thank you, sir.